Good evening. We are now ready to start our meeting. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Heisel?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Secretary Zai, Dr. Hall.
Here. Everyone, please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to say so bad. My country too.
Hey, this evening for our good news reports, we have Monee Elementary School. I'd like to call forth the principal, Joanne Jones, an assistant principal, I believe is here, Mr. Amos Vaughn, and they will be discussing their volunteer recognition program.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're very happy to be here tonight because we are celebrating something that's very important to our students at Monee Elementary. We want to acknowledge 3 of our mentors who we were hoping everyone could be with us here tonight, but we do have 2 of them with us here. About 3 years ago, we had a conversation with Reverend Hunt and Mr. Sanders about mentoring, and we have been very fortunate to have them with us for the past 3 years. This year, we are very excited because while Reverend Hunt and Mr. Sanders work with our young males, we had no one to work with our females. So that's when our very own Mrs. Harden entered, and we kind of adopted her, but she came willingly to work with some of our females. You know, we use a phrase very, very often when we're talking about our children, and that is, it takes a village. And that is so very true. The hours that the 3 of these very special friends of ours take to come to us every Thursday to work with those students endlessly, tirelessly, they're right there all the time. They're willing to do whatever we need them to do. They're willing to be there and support us and show their dedication to us. So we wanted to take that opportunity tonight to publicly thank them for all of their hard work and to let them know how much it is appreciated. Can we have them come up if we do that, please?
Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I have, again, I'm Lashana Harden, and I have the privilege of mentoring 5 wonderful girls. They're 5th graders, and I have enjoyed my time with them. They're so eager just to take everything in, and thank you, Ms. Jones, for trusting me with your children. They've been great, and I've learned from them. So it's been a wonderful experience, so thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Sanders, and on behalf of Dr. James Hunt, who couldn't be here with us tonight, I would like to say good evening. And he's my co-mentor. We presently mentor at the MEC, Monee Elementary, and Crete Elementary. Is Mrs. Lane here tonight? Okay. And we do have one school that's outside of the district that we mentor in. And again, we would like to thank you for entrusting us with your children. And one of the things that I would like to ask, and probably we don't have any parents here, is that we would like to see and communicate with some of the parents whose children are in the program, so that we may better service them. It's always a pleasure to work with children, and thanks to the Board of Education for also entrusting us. And we would like to expand our program into the other schools. So if there are any other schools that think they could make use of our service, please let us know. We are available. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In addition to the cards that you received, the students decided to make thank you cards as a special thanks for your dedication and what you do here at Monee Elementary. Thank you very much.
I do also want to thank some of our Monee Elementary parents who are in the audience tonight. We talked about this at our last PTO meeting, and we asked them to please come and show their support as well, so thank you to our parents.
Thank you. Do you have any comments from our board members?
Yeah, I would like to say a great job by the mentors. I did have a chance a year or so ago to participate with Dr. Hunt, and I want to call him Dr. Sanders as well, and had the opportunity for, I want to call her Joanne because I feel I know her close enough to say that it is a privilege and it is an honor for me to have participate with the program in some capacity, and I assure you, Joanne, that I will muster up some more strength to get back on board, okay? You're welcome, and as well as over at MEC, and just expand as much energy that I have to share with the community in that capacity. So good job, guys, good job. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to the three of you. You know, it's amazing and it's wonderful when we have adult mentors, because it's nice for young people to have someone come in and work with them that does not come out as the authority figure that administrators and teachers are. And it becomes a much more personal and a much stronger relationship. And the things that you have helped these young people with now will be reflected years from now. I try to say a lot more, but I'm afraid my voice would go, and, and then I just sound like I'm squeaking. So, but thanks a lot, because you have done great things for young people. Thank you.
I would like to concur, of course, with my colleague, Mr. Heisel. And for those of you who know me, I started a mentorship program here about 8 years ago. I have a passion for mentorship. I commend you, Mr. Sanders and Dr. Hunt, the willingness, and Mrs. Harden. Interestingly enough, Mrs. Harden, I had that job and just decided I couldn't stretch myself so much to come over to Monee Elementary, but I'm at Crete Elementary and some of the other schools. And I just commend you again, because I said to a mom the other day, we don't get to say that the only thing we can do is go to our jobs and come in and not contribute actively in our community and into the lives of other, in our cases, young women. And seeing these young women go off to college, leave this building, particularly, I have one girl who's her third year in college now, and it's a blessing to receive the feedback of all the struggles that we went through just to get her to graduate from this high school. So the things that you are imparting into these young men and women are lifelong stories that they will forever live out through their journey of life. And I commend you guys wholeheartedly for the effort and the work that you do as a sacrificial lamb, is what I call it. You don't always get the thanks from the kids on a weekly basis. And as Mr. Sanders said earlier about parents, the need to make that a collective partnership so that it's not what Mrs. Sanders says, it's not what Mom says, it's what we all say collectively, and that it meshes and that it means the same thing. So I commend you guys. We salute you for your excellence in volunteerism and particularly your mentorship roles. Thank you.
I believe Pastor Hunt just walked in back there. So
yes, Dr. Hunt, can you please come up?
And just real quick, I forgot to mention, and it would be remiss for me not to mention Mrs. Harden, so I apologize wherever she is.
She's in the back.
But she's in the back, just like church in the back.
We're very, very appreciative of everything you do for our kids. We talk about it on every week, and you're very important. You are devoted to our kids, our school, our community, and that means so very much to us. So we did it, Mr. Sanders, but thank you so much. We so appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Group picture.
I concur with my colleagues. Having a mentor program, I believe, is very necessary in communities. My own children have been a part of programs in which they had sponsors who acted as mentors, and sometimes kids will receive something from their mentor before they do their own parents. So I commend even the volunteers and the mentors, because it takes a lot of time out of your day, out of your own schedule, to do such a selfless act. I know some of our board members here are involved in mentor programs. I myself am involved in the exhibition program at CSK and working with those students, and I have 4 children, and I know that everyone has a lot going on in their own personal lives, so just extreme thank you for taking the time out of your day to pour into another child so that they can be successful in life. So thank you all. Mr. Cunningham?
I'd just like to thank all of those who have participated in the mentoring programs. It is so important that our young people have not only their parents and their teachers to look to, but that they have community support. And if you're in that mentoring program and you're there supporting your community, and we just so appreciate that work. So thank you.
Okay, moving on to our public comment portion of our board meeting. First we have Zaria Jarrett. Did I say that? I was the key, I'm sorry.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Zakia Jarrett. I'm the parent of both the freshman and the junior here at Crete-Monee High School. And we've been a part of the school district and community for a little over 10 years. And during that time, I've had my fair share of battles with teachers who appeared to do more bullying than educating. But it hasn't all been bad. And there have been some great memories made right here in this school district. Now, my daughter is getting ready to graduate next year, and my son is going to be learning to drive. So I'm excited about the different things that lie ahead for them and also their peers. But what also has me a little anxious is to see that the parent-teacher battles seem to have turned into full-blown war, and there's a lot of infighting where there really should be unity. I believe in transparency. I like to be able to trust the reps that that are a part of this board to actually represent me versus having an underlying political agenda. I like to be able to trust that our children's teachers and counselors are making everyday decisions to educate and uplift these students. And I'd like to see the same energy and vigor that teachers put into walking through my community on behalf of a political candidate put into things like homework lab. Basically, I'm concerned that the bridge between home and school is broken, and we need to work together to mend as a community and to bridge that gap. I work in the field of education, just on the higher ed side. So my passion for education expands to colleges and universities all over the United States. As a parent, I am committed to being present and accounted for. I'm committed to being a voice for our children and committed to continue to working with you to do whatever we need to do to get us back on the right track. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, Gerald Neely. Board members. I'm sorry, his comment is about board members. Sorry.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
The sister before me stole my thunder, so I'd just like to say that it has been a lot of infighting. I've been here for 3 years, and we really need to work together to bring our school to be the school that the whole nation will be proud of, not just our community. I want to say thank you to all of you all that's here now. Excuse me. And I hope and I pray that you all continue to uplift our children, because myself being a parent and a taxpayer, it really bothers me to just see that the invite. So with that, I end this, and bless everybody.
Thank you. Next, Renell Walls, tax dollars.
Good evening. My question is basically this. We live here in Crete, but my child no longer attends the elementary school. We go to Deer Christian School down the street. And from what I understand, even though it's a private school, it's still a part of the district. It's in the district. So I was wondering if was there a way, because my tax dollars still come to public school, but it doesn't go, is there a way I can get my tax dollars to go to where my baby goes, so I'm not paying 2 different fees? So because I don't think it just makes sense for me to pay where my baby is not. So I don't know if you have any information who I would talk to see if it is even possible where my money can go where my child is. That's my question.
Thank you. We can get that information to you. Thank you. Or at least the answer to your question. Next, we have James Young, tax abatement and teacher management relationship.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening.
Members of the board. I stand before you as a resident of Crete-Monee School District. I'm also a proud parent who this school district has produced 3 graduates. My oldest son, Kevin, is a 1995 graduate of Crete-Monee High School. He's currently serving as a career Army soldier. Did 4 tours of duty in Iraq. My daughter, Debrell, is a 2005 graduate of this high school. She's currently living in Peoria, and she's a primary school teacher. My youngest son, James, is currently finishing his first year of college at Iowa Central Community College. He was on 2013 Crete-Monee Championship football team. I say that to let you know that you have some good teachers in the school district. And with that strong parental support, they have been successful, and I'm a proud parent. My wife is going to be with me here tonight, but she was unable to be here. 2 points I want to make perfectly clear. First of all, I want you to know that there are parents in the school district that appreciate the tax abatement that was a result of 2013, let's see, I got my notes kind of mixed up here. the tax abatement that was a part of the 2013 capital development funds. You know, every little bit helps, so we really appreciate the courage, the commitment, the compassion that you've shown to the taxpayers for that tax abatement. And the second point I want to make is that I've been trying to keep up with these school board meetings by looking at the videos on cable as well as reading the newspaper articles that have been written. And one of the things that bothers me is what I call the management-teacher relationship. I am also a school teacher in the Chicago Heights School District. I'm a middle grade school teacher. And I'm also a member of the American Federation of Teachers, Local 604. It's a teachers union. And one of the things that bothers me is what I see as a conflict between the board and teachers union. And I want you to know that teachers union that has taken an antagonistic approach to everything that you guys do is not a true reflection of some of the good teachers that you have in the school district. Okay? And I'm appalled by the way that they have approached the problems and trying to resolve them. It's true that sometimes management union can play an adversarial role, but it's not true that we cannot work in collaboration with you to be problem solvers, because that's what teachers are. We are innovative thinkers, we are creative thinkers, we are problem solvers. So I want you to take that in consideration as you think about teachers, because not all of us will take an antagonistic role to attack everything that you do. There are teachers that will work collaboratively with you to solve the problems in this school district. The number one priority is to educate our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Mr. Nathan Wright, Behavioral Education.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening.
My name is Nathan Wright, and I would also like to say good evening to the audience and to the parents as well that are here. My name is Nathan Wright, and I am a behavior educator. We've been doing this for more than 20 years. We teach manners and morals. We feel that this is critical to our children's development. What we have here in this society is the result of having a set of rules that we can all agree to in order to create what we have right here. And this is a process that is essential to how we interact with one another. There are a set of rules that determine our value system, and they're called civil rules of conduct. And when we teach our children those rules, you're going to have a child that's more intellectualized as to who he or she is as an individual.
Mr. Wright, please address the board. Address the board. Thank you.
You don't know really who you are as a person unless you're well-grounded in being able to understand the process of being civilized. And yes, civilized in the relationship to civilization, okay, and organization. You have to have a set of rules that we can agree to on how to interact and engage with one another to be successful. And I consider this to be the foundation of our humanity as individuals, as a community. And what we see here is a result of that. And so this is what we teach our students and what we do. Everything you see that you can place your hands on is a result of people having a set of values that allow them to create everything that you see. And once you connect your humanity with that understanding, now you know how to conduct yourself in society. And so I'm more than pleased to be here today, to be able to have this opportunity to tell you this is the foundation of all other disciplines. You can't have math, you can't have science unless the students you're teaching are secure in who they are as individuals. And that security comes about from an intellectual standpoint for which they have to be educated to understand their role in society, their role in the classroom. I have a role to play, and you have a role to play. We all have a role to play in this society. to understand there's a foundation to how we react and relate to one another. And if you know how to do that, you will understand how to engage with each other to be able to create what you seek. And I would like to compare with everything you see. The towel on the floor is a consequence of an organization coming together and creating that towel. This microphone is the consequence of people coming together and creating this microphone and this building here and everything else that's in our society. And so we have to begin to
Mr. Wright,
educate our children.
you're out of time.
I'm out of time. But may I have one final concluding comment?
One final comment. Thank you.
Thank you. I was at the meeting last week, and I must follow with that parent that was up here before. And I witnessed something very appalling to me as well. I witnessed a professional class of people, and I consider teachers to be part of a professional class. And when their representative and the audience that was sitting behind me was conducting themselves in an uncivil manner, in an unprofessional manner, I was really appalled at that. And I would say you all deserve an apology from those who were here, who acted below their standards of behavior. And if you're a professional person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I will conclude with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Cynthia Hudson, the 1998 consent decree.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Viewing audience. Again, my name is Cynthia Hudson, and I am one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit that took 10 years. And I want to read something. I wrote out a statement because I feel as though we're revisiting this lawsuit again, and I think it's just ridiculous. The 2013 Heather Farquhar, I may be saying her last name, but forgive me if I am. The 2013 Heather Farquhar lawsuit against our school district was to have the courts intervene and overturn the 1998 federal judge order that disbanded the single at-large school board member voting district. The single voting district was deemed by the federal judge as a method to deny many African Americans the right to vote for school board potential winning candidates of their choice in 201U school district. The judge found that African Americans in University Park, Monee, and unincorporated Monee rights were violated based on the 1965 Voters' Right Act. His findings revealed that Caucasians voted in blocks to keep African Americans from obtaining additional school board seats within a single large voting scheme. This was the 1965 March 1 sale was all about. Same thing. It was to obtain the right to vote and to exercise our vote to overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. I can imagine why anyone would want to silence a whole race or a group of people who fought so long and so hard to have a voice. If we don't have an African American on the school board, then how can we have diversity on the school board? Our children and parents need, and we have the right to have someone on our school board who we can relate to and who we can feel comfortable with. Not to say that we can't feel comfortable with other races, but we need to have someone who understands us, who can fight for us. Can there be I would like to know, can there be some kind of amendment to the qualifications or requirements of the school board for the staff as well as the school board members that if they have complaints against them for them being unfair, unjust, or bullies, etc., can they be terminated? Why should we have staff teaching our children or school board members who don't have our backs? you know, they should be terminated. Our children they have to attend the school. You know, you have our children in school all day long. They shouldn't come to school and have to feel threatened in any kind of way. I have the experience of, my daughter graduated in 2000. My son will graduate this year. And all that time, I'm still seeing the same things, and that's ridiculous. I have experienced good teachers, and I have experienced terrible teachers who day after day after day bullied my child. There should be a diversity training with every employee that comes into District 201U before they get hired, whether they're a staff member or a board member. They should go through diversity training first. And I'm probably part of who this gentleman spoke about with the people that were saying things behind my back while I was speaking. And I do believe I did apologize last week, but again, that was way out of character for me. But I really did appreciate it being disrespected, and I believe I apologize, and I truly apologize to you again, because that is not who I am, and that should not have happened at this board meeting. So again, I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you move on, Mr. President, I'd like to read a statement. In recent months, there has been a troublesome trend taking place in our school district that threatens the very fiber of our fabric as a school community. Some of us would have us believe that to disagree, one must become disagreeable, and in doing so, have lowered the level of discourse among our communities by taking to social media to launch racial insults, spread false information, and plan targeted attacks on the character of those whose ideas they oppose. I was saddened to learn of Facebook posting laced with racially insensitive remarks and plans to purposely disrupt school board meetings. I have the unique experience of observing these occurrences as an outsider looking in, and I can tell you that from where I sit, none of it is good for our children or the community. In fact, it threatens the family-oriented, welcoming reputation that our school district once enjoyed. Several colleagues from other school districts have recently commented to me about the insults, rumors, gossip, race baiting, and finger pointing that our school district is becoming known for. In view of last week's school board election, which ushers in the arrival of 2 new school board members to the Board of Education, Mrs. Janine Galbraith and Ms. Jennifer Gasparo, and concludes the tenure of 2 former board members, Mr. Tom Heisel and Ms. Mary Stockton, this moment seems the most appropriate time for us all to pause, reconsider, and reset. We must pause to allow ourselves the opportunity to quiet those distractions and preconceived notions that prevent us from truly listening to each other. We have to reconsider our own actions and what it means for our children's success if we don't learn to work together. Lastly, it is imperative that we reset by moving forward together and refusing to allow those provocateurs who seek to hinder our progress by constantly reminding us of the mistakes and misunderstandings of the past. History has taught us that a house divided cannot stand. The politics of division is a poison that prevents us from seeing each other as what we are, a community of families who love our children and want the best public education possible for them. We are powerless to meet and overcome the challenges ahead until we agree that while we may have different stories, different paths, and different ideas, we share common hopes and dreams for our children's futures. So starting tonight, let us each recommit by seeing every obstacle as an opportunity to work together, sharing resources and creating solutions. Let us regard our neighbors with the respect that we would want to be shown. Let us collectively decide that we will either rise or fall together as a community school district. Let us lay aside our misperceptions and see every student as our collective treasure. As superintendent of schools, I've been hired by this Board of Education to be the chief executive officer of this school district. The school board is responsible for monitoring my progress. However, all decisions related to the daily operations of our school, district personnel, and finances are made by my office. While our Board of Education is responsible for voting on a number of issues related to policies and procedures, please understand that their votes are based on recommendations made by me and my administrative team. And while I understand that every decision or recommendation won't be met with total agreement, I'm asking that you trust me to lead the school district in the right direction. Now, I recognize that building trust takes time. As a new superintendent and resident to this community, I've worked very hard this school year to get to know you. I've had the pleasure of having numerous conversations with a cross-section of peoples from each community, including village mayors, clergy, business officials, law enforcement, single parents, two-parent families, empty nesters, single home residents, and renters, the elderly, young parents, and new residents to the south suburbs, all in an effort to better understand the issues that are important to stakeholders in each of the 4 communities the district serves. Afterwards, I took special care to catalog each and every conversation. These dialogues have been precious to me and have served to help me guide in my decision-making. I will tell you that the consistent themes that continues to resonate with me from each of those voices are the phrases, our community and our kids. No matter what the person was referencing, at some point in the conversation, those 2 phrases emerged, our community and our kids. Despite the rhetoric and negativity being propagated by a few, I remain encouraged and hopeful that we will not simply yield to the easy decision to pick a side that looks like us or believes what we believe or dislikes what we dislike. But we will commit to the hard work of learning how to work together for the sake of our community and our kids. I received a call last week from a longtime member of the community who requested to meet with me. The person was troubled and shared with me their deep concerns about the rhetoric being used by some to express their discontent with the Board of Education and superintendent. The community member expressed their hope that we could find some ways to work more positively to achieve our goal of improving our schools. This, more than anything that I have experienced in all my time here at the Crete-Monee School District, has filled me with so much hope and optimism. This single gesture assures me that if we all choose working together over working apart, dialogue over criticism, the peaceful exchange of ideas over combativeness and suspicion, we can change our school district and community. We each have so much to lose if we don't make the right decision. So let's decide that today is a day we pause, reconsider, and reset for the sake of our community and our kids. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now with that comes the first step to hard work. The superintendent is establishing a community relations committee, and I would like emails for anyone here that would like to participate. I will be out looking for all those people I mentioned. Pastors first. I see a few of you here. Yes, and I expect to have as much help as we can, because together we can lead us where we need to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So eloquently spoken and conveyed.
If you can't send an email to me and I'm on the net and easy to find, please feel free to give it to my administrative assistant, Ms. Terry Tobin, who's right here right now.
Okay, moving forward, we are at board updates. Do we have any updates from our board members?
One board update, and that's just to update you on our last, back in, oh gosh, it seems like a long time ago now, but back in March, the board annually, or we take 2 retreats, if you will, and I don't know if it's a retreat because it's more work involved than relaxation at all. But this year, the board members, a few of us, were able to make it to our annual national conference National School Board Association. It is our professional development time. I think I heard someone say earlier what it takes to actually be a board member. The state of Illinois doesn't require much except that you be 18 years of age, reside in the area in which you would like to represent. But it does take a whole lot more if you're passionate about the job that you signed up to do. So we did, the three of us, Drs. Hall, Mr. Brown, and myself. I believe there's one other who may have registered, but we did go, as we have for many years, to receive and retrieve information that is vital to growing our district and sharing that information with the administrators and just learning. It's a very insightful opportunity to experience what other towns, communities, states across the nation are doing to find ways to implement higher success rates for their students. A lot of you talked about coming together. There are teachers and staff members from all over this country who come together, and they don't necessarily agree, but they do decide that children are first. I sat on the plane with a superintendent from New Mexico, and he shared with me that they had changed their policies regarding cell phones. And for those of you who've been keeping up with our district, we had a cell phone debate and discussion that wasn't the nicest scenario, but it takes a lot of communication and understanding to know that policies are written not necessarily to squash individuality, but certainly the opportunity to allow people to have, freedom of expression. So just in talking to this gentleman on the plane, the networking that happens as a result of participating in the national conference gave me some insight to share with our policy teams as it relates to the improvement of academic success for students. So I just want to encourage you that this board is continuing to educate themselves, to bring back things that are essential to the improvement of our student success, as well as our own success as a district. It is, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday. It's grueling because you're sitting in classes from anywhere from 60 minutes to 90 sometimes, but again, the information is vital. Sometimes when you sit at your home and you're consistent in doing the things that we've been doing in Illinois, and I'm going to say it out loud, I don't think we have the best state as it relates to them, our governors, our senators, sharing the right amount of monies needed to successfully educate students, and that's something we as a community need to do a better job in insisting that our state representatives, our governors understand that we want our children educated at the highest possible levels, and whatever dollars that takes, we want to see those fused into our children's schools. So a lot of the debate and the back and forth and the politicking has much to do with a lot of things that are out of many of our controls. So we need you to go back to your communities and back to your state representatives, and they listen to letters that you write, and that's what I found. I was in a workshop where they talked about a community bridging together and saying, we're not going to take this anymore. We want money for our schools. That's the only way that we can successfully educate our kids. So I just want to commend my colleagues for taking the matter seriously. We all, shared, even our superintendent, I apologize, I left him out, but came. I read something earlier today that says when we stop educating ourselves and stop learning, then we die. So we are living people. We will continue to educate ourselves to become more adequate in the things that we do as fiduciarily responsible individuals as we currently are. So I thank you. That was the board update.
I'll respond briefly. As an attendee, I've been on the board for 6 years. I believe I have attended 5 national conventions and all of the state conventions. And those of you who have paid attention to the board meetings or been at the board meetings, you have probably heard me say more than once that I am an advocate for professional development for board members. When we first sat in these seats, there was no mandate for board members to have any type of training. I am an educator by trade, and I am a self-professed lifelong learner. And I felt that to be a tragedy, that there was no professional development required. I believe it became required maybe 2 or 3 years ago. To be a board member, someone said 18 years old and live in the be a resident of where you reside, the district that you reside in. But now the state of Illinois has made a few trainings mandated. And when I first sat in this seat, I signed up for the first training I could get into. When I first became president, I signed up for the first president training. And I am a board member who feels that I need to be learning consistently. The laws in Illinois change all the time. The funding mechanisms change all the time. Community issues change all the time. We are sitting in workshops dealing with a plethora of information that's available to board members, and I have chosen to make a clear journey of accessing information. So I am an advocate for that. Even the 2 new board members, you will get that from me. You'll be getting your information about the first training, because you cannot sit in this seat and not be educated and make decisions on behalf of children and be over, I think we're what, $72 million dollars or whatever our budget, our budget is. You have to have education in order to do the things that we do. I'm sorry, 76 million. I'm not the finance chair, so. But there's a lot that we deal with, and a lot of decisions that we have to make, and I will continue to stress you want board members in these seats that have been educated and have received that information. So we require our teachers to have professional development. We require administrators to do the same. And I, again, totally support educating our board members in order for them to make the right decision for our children.
And just real quick, when you talk about going out of town to attend these different conferences, I'll just cut through the chase. I don't have time to go on boondoggles. I don't have time to have fun. It's strictly business when it comes to me attending these conferences. So those of you who think I'm out there playing with taxpayers' money, please rethink yourselves, because the things that I have learned I have brought to the table, and I'm seeing it every day in some capacity, that has brought value to this district, both educationally and monetarily. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, administrative updates, student affairs. Mrs. Monica Spence.
Thank you. Good evening. The following Freedom of Information requests have been received. I have reported the results and status of those requests. Our first one comes to us from Ms. Brenda Messick of Crete, Illinois. Electronic request received on March 27, 2015. The request is for the names of the individuals, board members, and any other individuals that traveled to Nashville, Tennessee for the board seminar at the Renaissance Hotel, the total amount spent on this trip, and an itemized account of expenditures. Why was it necessary for the district to send more than one board member to this seminar? A response to this request was sent on March 30th, 2015. There were no documents responsive to this request. Our second request comes to us from Ms. Brenda Messick of Crete, Illinois. Electronic request received on March 30th, 2015. The request is for the names of the individuals, board members, and any other individuals that traveled to any board seminars or meetings within the last 12 months that were paid for by the district. The amount spent on each trip, an itemized account of expenditures. Why was it necessary for the district to send more than one board member to these seminars or meetings? And if the Board of Education voted on whether or not these events would be attended and who would be attending. A response to this request was sent on April 6, 2015. The response included the requested documents. Our next request comes to us from Ms. Tammy Burnham of Crete, Illinois. Electronic request received on April 2nd, 2015. The request is for, please provide me with all contracts between the Crete-Monee 201U School District and Nathaniel Cunningham, Jr. A response to this request was sent on April 2nd, 2015. The response included the requested documents. Our next request comes to us from Ms. Linda Pete. Electronic request received on April 1st, 2015. The request is for a copy of the 2012-2013 and 2013-2014 district calendar and the calendar of district office meetings. The dates that Dr. Edison held the mentoring meetings with the new administrators during the 2012-2013 school year. A response to this request was sent on April 7, 2015. The response included a partial fulfillment of this request. Our last request comes to us from Ms. Jill Kellogg of Carefree Lawn Maintenance Incorporated. Electronic request received on April 7, 2015. The request is for bid results of the 2015 lawn maintenance project. A response to this request was sent on April 7, 2015. There were no documents responsive to this request at that time. This concludes the FOIA request for the April 21st board report. In a continued effort to better serve our communities and to achieve greater transparency in school district practices, the Freedom of Information request and response documents are posted online following each regular board meeting. Interested stakeholders are invited to access the FOIA readings via the school district website at www.cm201u.org. Under the Board of Education tab, select FOIA Request Archive. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we will have business updates. Dr. Ann Williams.
Thank you. Good evening. Included in your packet is a presentation that was presented at the April Finance Committee meeting relating to financial projections completed by PMA Financial, an independent financial consulting firm. The projections were created using data from the annual independent audit that is conducted on the district, the annual tax levy, the budget, conservative assumptions, and the efficiency plan being implemented by the administrative team on behalf of the Board of Education. The projections and a review of the historical data confirm that a structural deficit exists and that that deficit has existed for at least the last 10 years. Projections also indicate that the 2016 through 2019 efficiency plan will reduce the deficit substantially, moving the district closer to a balanced budget. That concludes my report on that item.
Okay, thank you. The fiscal year 14 tax extension.
Yes, also included in your packet is an informational report regarding the actual tax extension. We did receive it from the Will County Clerk's Office about 2 weeks ago, and the information included is consistent with what the board actually approved for a tax levy estimate back in December. The actual extension includes an increase of 1.63% to the property as a whole within the district. I think it's important to note that the property values decreased 4.8% for the entire district, and it was originally estimated to decrease just 2.5%. So by levying more than we expected to receive, we covered ourselves because we didn't know what the actual values would come in at. So the decrease, again, was 4.8% overall. And since we have so many state taxpayers in the audience, I think it's important to note that roughly 67% of the district's revenue comes from property taxes. That's all I have for that report. Dr. Hall?
Okay, thank you. And tax rate comparison.
A request was made to compare the tax rates for our district to neighboring districts in the area. That comparison resulted in a finding that our rates are actually on the low end compared to some of the neighboring districts with similar demographics like Bloom Township and Homewood Flossmoor. So that information is included in your packet. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or questions? Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Secretary is aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Just want to be clear on the overnight field trip approval for the remaining overnight field trips for the 2014-15 school year. As applicable to board policy, correct?
Correct. This covers any, these are state qualifiers where we don't have enough time in between the qualification and the state tournament, and we can report to the board in an FYI when those come up so that you know exactly which ones students are participating in.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to acknowledge all of our donations. Principal Aaron Lane would like to thank Elizabeth Stanula Kuiken, they are thanking her for items donated to, volunteer time by Holland Company and their employees for their Guys and Gals reading program, as well as the Aurelio's Pizza lunch to end the program. Principal Aaron Lane would also like to thank the Crete Elementary PTO, attention to Grace Travato, for their generous donation of copy paper. ELC Director Kelly Chesta would like to thank the Crete Ace Hardware Store for donating seed packets to students in order for them to plant at the Crete-Monee Early Learning Center. Principal Joanne Jones would like to thank the Crete-Monee Education Foundation for their $500 donation, which was used to purchase bicycles for the school store. Principal Brian Main would like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Welsh from Cone Cottage and Dairy Queen for their generous donation of gift cards and coupons to the 6th grade center. And that concludes our donations. Moving on to our action reports, our superintendent, Mr. Cunningham.
Good evening. According to Vision 2020, education is an investment in our children's future, our state's future, and our nation's future. It is our responsibility as educators to reflect upon the current state of education in Illinois and take action to create an education system that meets the needs of all students. We are all educators, including teachers, parents, administrators, and stakeholders in our district. Together, we're building the citizens of our future. In November 2012, The Illinois Association of School Administrators, an organization in which I am a member, initiated the visioning process in partnership with the Illinois Principals Association, the Illinois School Board, the Illinois School Business Officials, and the Illinois School Boards Association, and the Superintendent's Commission for the Study of Demographics and Diversity, and the Illinois Association of Superintendents of Schools, to unite the education community to develop a long-range blueprint for improving public education in Illinois. Together, we stand for excellence in education for all Illinois children. According to the vision, we're all part of the system and need to work in partnership to conquer these challenges to create meaningful and lasting change. The administration recommends that the Board of Education adopt the Vision 2020 Fulfilling the Promise of Public Education resolution to support the educational investment in our children's future, our state's future, and our nation's future. The Vision 2020 resolution reflects educators from across the state and is representative of opinions from the southern tip of Illinois throughout the northern Chicago suburbs.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the Illinois Vision 2020 resolution? Moved by Mr. Heisel.
A second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Any comments or
Yeah,
questions?
I think this is I've been in education a long time, which is proven by my gray hair and stooped shoulders, that this is one of the best things I've seen come out of the organizations to face both the General Assembly and the public. I think Vision 2020 is the roadmap to the future, and it's something that we absolutely have to have if we're ever going to make any progress in education in this state.
I'll share briefly that I was actually a part of this vision in Springfield earlier this year. As our board's IASB rep, I attend various functions for the Illinois Association of School Boards, and I concur with Mr. Heisel that this is huge. This is a first-time event of these varying associations coming together and creating a voice down in Springfield saying these are the things that we feel are priorities in education. And there are 4 top priorities for Illinois that they are envisioning, for Illinois having highly effective educators, Illinois students being engaged in 21st century learning, that there be a shared accountability between educators, administrators, and our legislators and our community, as well as having equitable and adequate funding for our schools. And this is an effort to collectively come together and, for lack of a better word, push Springfield to do what's right by our children. And I did bring this back and I spoke with our superintendent about this vision, and we brought it to the board members, and Vision 2020, Illinois Vision 2020 is asking for boards across the state to adopt this resolution as a way of saying that we are on board with them and their efforts, so that's why we've brought this to the board tonight, and I fully support it. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Heisel? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Okay. Resolution.
This is a resolution that we pass every year to reemploy our existing teaching staff for the 2015-2016 school year. And in addition, it also does call for the reduction of our first-year teacher assistants, and this is again something we do on an annual basis. It has no reflection whatsoever on their performance. It is simply so that we have the flexibility to determine what our teacher assistant needs will be based on our special education needs for next year. We do anticipate anticipate and certainly hope that we will be able to call most, if not all, of these individuals back. So this is not intended to be an austerity measure by any stretch. And finally, to approve the retirements of those individuals who are retiring this year. So I do recommend passage of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. May I have a motion to approve the resolution authorizing reemployment of certified staff for the 2015-16 school year, plus dismissals and retirements for the 2014-15 school year?
So move.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Heisel.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall.
Aye. Okay, Dr. Williams, fiscal year 16 student and meal fees.
Hello again. Included in your packet is a recommendation regarding student and meal fees. On an annual basis, the Board of Education does set fees for general student fees and meal fees. As part of this process, we review fees in the area, and we have confirmed that our fees are in line with neighboring districts, and we're recommending that student general fees remain the same. With that said, there is a requirement by the USDA to do an annual review of meal prices. The USDA requires that we ensure that our prices are equitable, with the prices that are paid for parents that have reduced or free lunch service, or those that have to pay the full price. The results of this year's analysis warrant an increase of 10 cents for breakfast and lunch. So we are recommending a 10-cent increase for meals, and that general fees remain the same for this school year.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 16 student and meal fees?
Do we have any questions?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Heisel,
Yeah. Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments?
Go ahead. You want to say something? No, I just wanted to say that we discussed this in our mixed finance and policy meetings. And of course, as a parent, I'm certainly not excited about increased. I'm doing well to appreciate the service, the lunch. I'm somebody that cooks, and I wish we could do better by our children. I certainly understand the federal government mandating that we have these portions and how they're distributed to our students. So I was clear in my statement as one individual. I think Mr. Brown concurred with me there, that we certainly understand, again, that as a board, there are policies, procedures, and federal mandates that we just must follow. So I'm sure next year when this 10 cents is attached to many of the parents who will receive this, who pay a lunch, it will not be received with a lot of excitement. But once again, it's one of those things that the federal government has said, this is something you must do. So our acceptance of it is certainly not our well wish, but certainly something that we must do. And I wanted to make sure that was communicated, because they had a hard sell getting me to say, yes, we need to do it, but yes is the only answer that we could come up with. So that's my statement. I'm sticking with it.
Do we know if there are any government programs that would, or grants for lunch that might help with the cost for our students? Can we look into that?
We most certainly can.
And who would that fall under?
I would work with Ms. Proctor regarding that, and I know that we have received grants in the past relating to some of the snack programs and after-school programs and the farmers market that we do host in several of our elementary schools.
And the summer program.
And the summer program as well. We do receive some reimbursements for that.
Okay.
But those that we receive, it's typically for students with the free and reduced, or is there any compensation or support for students? Because this increase is for parents who are already paying the actual, there's no
Correct.
assistance?
We do receive a small subsidy for parents that pay full price.
Oh, really?
Very small.
Okay,
In
yes.
comparison to what we receive as reimbursements for free and reduced students.
So is that published somewhere? How do we access that information?
I can provide that information to you.
I'd like to, yes, thank
Okay.
you.
But I'm referring to any grant programs, and I don't think that they only apply to free and reduced, like the summer program.
No,
was
that's a
not
community-based program,
Right.
so we receive reimbursement for that, separate from the regular lunch and breakfast programs throughout the year.
Okay.
So I'm just clarifying this now. So you're saying that a person, I'm going to use myself, I paid for both of my children to eat lunch, and you have some measure of support to assist in the purchase of the expensive lunch that we pay?
Yes.
Okay, I definitely want to hear about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the fiscal year 16 lawn mowing services.
Yes, also included in your packet is a recommendation to award the lawn mowing contract for the 2015-16 school year to Carefree Maintenance. That bid was advertised in the Southtown Star newspaper as required by law. A pre-bid meeting was held, and a public bid opening was held on March 23rd. 4 companies responded to the bid. 1 company was disqualified, and Carefree Maintenance was identified as the lowest responsible bidder with a base bid of $1,248.98 per mow and a total alternate bid of $1,892. This is an increase of 8.7% over the prior year's rate, and the estimated seasonal cost for the base bid is roughly $35,000. So it is the recommendation of the Finance Committee that we move forward with a bid, with accepting the bid submitted by Carefree Maintenance.
May I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 16 lawn maintenance service?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sanders.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown.
Comments? Comments?
Comment.
Okay. Just want to reiterate that although we bidded on this particular contractor to provide services for us at the price stated, we are going to continue, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are going to continue to look for opportunities to even lower the cost that we are going to approve, hopefully tonight.
Yes.
When it comes to, and I know you mentioned mow, not mow.
Not
brown.
mow
You said
brown,
mow brown,
but
okay.
lawn mow.
Lawn mow, okay. So, yeah, we are going to be looking for opportunities. This was discussed in very details in the Finance Committee. And we are, again, going to be looking for opportunities to do as much as we could in-house with the personnel and the employees that we have on staff.
Dr. Williams, you stated that one of the bids was rejected or disqualified.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain why?
Yes. One of the bids was disqualified due to a conflict of interest as it relates to the ownership of that particular company. The company has at least 50% ownership by someone that is an employee of the district, so it was disqualified for that reason.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Fiscal year 16 lawn maintenance services.
Yes, also included in your packet is a recommendation regarding the lawn maintenance service. We did not receive as many responses for that particular bid throughout the process. Only 2 bidders responded, True Green and Forever Green. The lowest bid came back at roughly $46,000. When we looked at that as a whole, we made a decision to try to reduce the number of treatments that we had in several areas. So after meeting with the Buildings and Grounds Department, we did reduce the bid, or the treatments that will be included in the bid. So the recommendation for today is just under $25,000 to recommend Forever Green to begin treatments for this season.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 16 lawn maintenance service?
A motion that we approve the fiscal year 16 lawn maintenance service contract.
Moved by Mr. Brown.
Second.
Second by Mr. Sanders. Any comments or questions? Secretary, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. I believe we do need to revisit our previous motion, fiscal year 16 lawn mowing service contract. The motion has been moved and second. Please call the roll.
You didn't catch that, Terry. I'm shocked.
We got 4 motions on that.
Okay. So, Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Thank you.
The lawn,
Yes.
yeah, lawn mowing.
Lawn mowing.
The name of their company is Carefree Lawn Maintenance.
Okay.
And they're mowing and maintenance and maintaining.
They are mowing.
They're going to maintain the length of the grass.
Lastly, the civil engineering RFP summary.
Yes, included in your packet is a recommendation to approve civil engineering surveys related to the middle school addition and the new elementary school projects. The district's architect requested proposals from 3 firms. All 3 firms are reputable and would be able to successfully complete the job. And the proposals ranged between $150,000 and $175,000. The recommendation from the architect is to accept the proposal submitted by WT.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the civil engineering RFP summary?
So moved.
Is that the proper wording?
Second.
RFP.
The RFP for civil engineering services provided by WT.
So it's actually the civil engineering RFP provided by WT. Thank you. Moved by Mr. Brown, second by Mr. Heisel, I believe it was. Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown? And Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. Okay, curriculum. Ms. Laura Hirsch.
In January of 2014, the Illinois State Board of Education adopted new K-12 science standards called the Next Generation Science Standards, or NGSS as we use in our educational speak. These new standards are to be fully implemented by the 2016-2017 school year, and eventually that will also include a new state science assessment. As we know with our Common Core standards, when standards change, our curriculum and our assessments also have to change. During this current school year, our 6th through 8th grade science teachers piloted several instructional units from the Science and Technology Concepts program, and they've made a recommendation to adopt the program beginning with the 2015-2016 school year. The STC program is an inquiry-centered middle school science program. It was developed by the Smithsonian Science Education Center, which is a branch of the Smithsonian Institution, and it is published by Carolina Biological Supply Company. The program is aligned with the Next Generation Science Standards, and I have attached the K-8 program scope and sequence for you. The cost of the adoption is $76,943.11. This is approximately $67 per student, and the cost is already included in the 2014-2015 curriculum budget. The administration is recommending that the Board of Education approve the adoption of the Science and Technology Concepts Program for 6th through 8th grade science classes for the 2015-2016 school year.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
A question?
Moved.
Second.
Somebody's ready to leave. Let me make a correction because on our agenda it's stated as the NGSS adoption, but we are actually voting on the adoption of the Science and Technology Concepts Program, correct?
To address the NGSS standards, yes.
Okay.
What's the acronym, Laura?
Next Generation Science Standards, or NGSS, and the program is called the Science and Technology Concepts, or they refer to it as the STC program. Everything has a has an acronym.
And it all leads into the STEM program, with Science, Technology, Engineering,
which
and
is
Math.
now the
that will be done
STEAM
at the high
program.
school.
I said STEAM, yeah, I was just going to say.
And if you keep it up, we got a few more letters in the alphabet we could use.
I saw the STEAM.
STEAM
Art.
next.
They threw the A in there for arts.
Okay, so let me get clarity because we have the standards, which is NGSS. And I'm looking at the recommendation which says that the Board of Education approve the adoption of science and technology concepts. So is it STC or is it NGSS?
We're adopting the Science and Technology Concept Program to address the NGSS standards, or the Next Generation Science Standards.
Okay, may I have a motion? I believe it already been made and seconded. It is to
You don't really want me to do it again, do you?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
Just to be clear, I'm just a stickler on that. To adopt the Science and Technology Concepts, otherwise known as STC, to address the NGSS standards. Okay.
Or Next Generation Science.
And Secretary, please call the roll.
Okay. Mr. Heisel?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Secretary's aye. Dr. Hall?
Aye. And we, of course, support anything that's going to help our students. These standards are changing, and if these programs can help them reach these standards and help our teachers to teach these standards, of course, we support.
Yes. I think what's exciting about the new science standards is that it is a definite shift away from knowing science to doing science. And that is the expectation, and this program will provide that. And we've been very fortunate this year in the pilot because the trainer that the company has provided us was a science teacher in a middle years IB program. So it's a nice connection for us as we move forward with that to us in the middle school.
And this is 6th through 8th grade.
6th through 8th
just
grade.
to clarify. Okay.
Will it help at all with the, you know how we have this system where we don't have students in line for biology? Remember that dilemma that we have? Will this help in any way to further advance students' success there?
I think the issue that we've always had with biology is that biology traditionally has been very text-heavy, a lot of reading. And as we move into these new standards with the focus being on doing science, the standards even at the high school level are focusing on doing science. So I think it will address what you're talking about.
And with all of the standard changes from the state of Illinois, and there are a lot of changes going on. Even our kindergartners are going to be tested now. Those of you parents who did not know that, they have developed a standardized test for our kindergartners. I think it's called KIDS, K-I-D-S.
Yeah, it's actually not a formalized test as much as it is a reporting system based on evidence that the teacher collects around certain indicators.
So it's an observational?
It's an observational, it's based on a developmental scale as opposed to grades. So we'll be talking about where students are on a scale of learning and growing. It's very much aligned with early childhood. So
When will our district be starting that?
The interesting thing, this year we have 4 of our kindergarten teachers, 2 classrooms, our 2 co-taught kindergarten classrooms piloted the kids' assessment this year. We were all under the impression that we would be going with full implementation beginning next fall, and the state has backed off on that implementation timeline. So really it's a 3-year implementation timeline, so that's fortunate for us because it will give us time to use the experience that those 4 teachers had this year to build our implementation plan so that we're ready for full implementation in the 3rd year. So it's a nice
I was in a
change.
meeting with at the No Child Left Behind event, and Chris Cook, for those of you who don't know, he is our current state superintendent. He works with the Illinois State Board of Education, and he was sharing that they got a little pushback from some teachers that gave them some feedback, and that's why it's a little delayed. So, but it's coming.
It's coming.
Yes. Okay. Any old business? Any new business?
Yes, we have new business. I'd like to go ahead and pass it over to Mrs. Monica Spence.
Good evening again. The Office of Student Affairs is pleased to offer 2 proposed enhancements to the student registration process for the 2015-2016 school year. Our first is student registration will include 3 options: mail-in, online, and then annual registration. The benefit of 3 options is they offer convenience for our customers and decreased wait time, fewer lines during annual or walk-in registration. Mail-in and online registration will only be available for returning students, and we anticipate that the packets for mail-in and online registration will be mailed out the week of May 4th. Our next proposed enhancement is that annual or walk-in registration will be reduced to 1 week. The tentatively scheduled dates are July 20th through July 24th. The benefits that we hope to see are lower operating costs to the district, having 1 week of walk-in versus 4 weeks. As always, our goal is to offer an efficient, streamlined registration process. Our plan this summer is to use mass marketing, frequent communication, and a convenient format in an effort to encourage as many returning families as possible to register ahead of the July annual registration week. We strongly encourage our families to make every effort to take advantage of one of these options, in particular the early options of mail-in or online. Our attendance numbers on the first day of school are directly connected with funding. In addition, being present on that first day of school helps to ensure that our scholars start the school year on a strong, positive note.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, thank you, Ms. Spence. This is not really new business, but I do want to just take this opportunity. I know this is Board Member Heisel's last full day as participating in a regular board meeting. And I just want to thank you, Tom, I know I'm going to get an opportunity to say this maybe again next month, but thank you for your leadership, thank you for your experience, thank you for not really arguing with me. You knew how to draw back, and so did I, and we never had any confrontations regarding issues. So do well in your next life to come. You have another 75 years in that capacity as well. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of, we will be seating our new board on May 5th, and that agenda will be posted. At that meeting, our new board members will take their oath as board members, and we will say goodbye to Mr. Heisel as well as Mrs. Stockton, who will be leaving us after many years of serving on the school board. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait a minute. I've got one thing left.
One thing?
It's nothing modeling or anything. It's kind of scary. There have been some changes downstate. And one of the things that the citizenry needs to be aware of, and the board especially. There have been some changes with the State Board of Education that are very important. The first is that the governor is very strong on vouchers and charter schools. As a result, his appointment of the new president of the State Board of Education in Reverend Meeks is a man who is also very strong in vouchers and in charter schools. There was only one candidate. There was a closed session held by the State Board of Education that was a surprise to everybody, and it was about personnel. And the only personnel that the State Board of Education deals with is the superintendent. Superintendent Cook has been replaced by a man named Martin. He was the only candidate. He was recommended by the governor, and he is a strong voucher and charter school proponent. Now, regardless of how and you feel as an individual about these things, the thing you have to understand about the charter schools, if one comes to this area, the money for the charter school is taken away from us. It's taken away from the public education. We can't afford that. We're already running a $3 million deficit. And if you take a hard look at the state's payments to this district, there's $3.5 million right there. Now, I have to be honest with you. In the last 43 years, I spent more time in Springfield than I care to think about. I don't intend to do that for the next 43. But I do want you to know somebody's going to have to step up, and I don't mean go down there in mass and just demonstrate, because that won't get you anywhere. You got to get to know your representatives. You got to get to know your state senators. You've got to go down there and talk to the staffers in everybody's office. Get to know them all. I knew that finally paid off when a few years ago the chief of staff for Speaker Madigan called one of our former superintendents, and shortly thereafter we got the money for the capital improvement grant. That paid off. It worked. Speaker Madigan didn't call, but then, you know, I don't walk on water, so we can't get everything. But please, be involved. It's extremely important, and it's that personal touch. The other thing I can honestly say is that if you want your politicians to really work with you, put a sign in your front yard. Bring them in for a photo opportunity, and if you do nice things for them, they never forget. You put their opponent's sign in your front yard, they will never forget that either. So just keep it in mind. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sanders. Oh, you all want to stay. Second by Mr. Heisel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, May 5th. Yeah. Watch it change.